everyone. Welcome to another episode of Anékdota. I am Angeles and this is Aida.
Blue.
And today we have a very interesting topic, just like all topics that we have on this podcast. And Aida, would you like to share with us what are we going to be talking about today?
Sure. So today we're talking about synchronicities and signs, the language of the universe.
Yes, we're going to be taking a look at those magical in between moments in life where it feels like we're speaking directly to the universe or the universe is speaking directly to us, those synchronicities, those signs, and how the universe is guiding us on towards that path towards our higher self, right? Or towards moving on from certain situations or when something amazing um, or even unimaginable is about to approach our lives, correct? So I think it's very interesting how we have both have experienced synchronicities in throughout this process in our lives, and how those have played out a huge part in this magical path. What do you think?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think we kind of touched a little bit on this, like during one of our episodes. I think it was the one about destiny, like whether or not, we create our destiny or things like that. And but this time, talking about synchronicities and signs, um like fully going into it, it's going to be super interesting because yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, there's been a lot of synchronicities, a lot of signs that have presented themselves, especially this week. I mean, it's been insane, at least on my end. It's been crazy. And yep, that's why we decided to talk about this because we always share about what we're going through. And this is just like, it's been huge this week. So what do you want to start? Like, which just, you have plenty to choose from this week. So take your pick.
Well, I think I have talked about some of them already, like dreams definitely is one of them. The numbers that I have already shared prior to this episode in other episodes. But one of the first one, I actually want to know which one was your first one. The first one that I actually became aware, other than the number 222, was which was the number that was presented to me to kind of like as a
Oh,
wake up.
synchronicity alert. Do, do,
Yeah.
do.
Um, After that, I started seeing a lot of white butterflies everywhere. So what was your like one of your first ones or the second one that you can recall that you're just kind of like, okay, like I this was like my first one that I became aware, but then after that, this presented itself many times.
I think, or the big one, like that pops to mind right now, it's the ladybug.
Oh yes.
Just seeing a ladybug like after my grandma's passing. And so, she passed away, and I started seeing ladybugs just everywhere and things like that. And, I mean, I had always liked ladybugs, but for some reason, when I saw a ladybug after her passing, it was like it would bring me a lot of peace. And I started like linking the ladybug with that sense of like, and my grandma passed away in March, and then my birthday's in July. So all those months, I kept seeing ladybugs like just all over, right? At random places, which is, I mean, it's kind of normal because it's spring and stuff like that. So I didn't really think much of it. But during my like on my birthday that year, I mean, I was walking, and all of a sudden this ladybug was like, like just like just came flying through my face, and then just landed like right where I was about to step on. And I'm like, oh, what? I'm like, oh, a butterfly, a ladybug. I picked it up and everything, and it just brought me that sense of peace. And I was like, I don't know, I thought of my grandma,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Hey, is that you, grandma? You know, we should be a happy birthday or what?" You know, I just said it like that. And then she flew away. Then later on, when I started learning about theta healing, well, one of the first courses was about starting connecting with animals. So during the break, I went out for a smoke, and I was just sitting on my deck, just having a smoke. Then all of a sudden, this ladybug comes over, flies over, and comes and sits next to me. And I was like, okay, so let me ask the ladybug what's up. You know, and I had just learned, how to connect with animals and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I connected with the ladybug, and I'm like, "Are you Made?" I used to call I called my grandma Made. I'm like, "Are you Made?" And all of a sudden, it's like I felt like her voice telling me, "Well, first of all, throw away that cigarette." And I'm like, "Okay, enough said."
Wow.
Oh, my grandma. I'm like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Okay." And I'm like, "Oi." I was like getting super nervous, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go back inside and pretend like nothing happened." And the ladybug wouldn't go away.
Wow.
So then I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "So this she is coming through as a ladybug." And then like after that, it's ladybugs everywhere, like going through difficult situations like family things. It's always a ladybug that comes to me to comfort me.
Oh.
And it has been like a very it's just one of those things that I know that if I see a ladybug, like in certain places at certain moments, I know it's because something good is about to happen, or something like pretty like I know she's with me.
Hmm. Totally.
So that's one of the big ones. And I mean, that she continues to come across, my path.
Such a beautiful story. Yeah, I remember when you told me about that story. It's so beautiful.
Yep. And
And
she was
how,
with you a couple days ago. Remember, I sent you a picture. That
yeah,
that
yeah,
was another synchronicity where it's like, okay, that you know what, you're onto something good here.
that was a very
What I
powerful.
was going through during this week, it's like me seeing a ladybug on my screen.
Mhm.
And at night, I live on the third floor of my building. Like, how is a little ladybug gonna fly like up that high and just come? It's just weird. And
Yeah,
I saw it and I'm like, okay, my grandma's telling me this is, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. And then another confirmation. I mean, it's just like all these signs that I keep tying up. And
this has been a crazy week for you for synchronicities. Actually, I want to say more than it's been crazy this week, but I feel like it started when we finished our book. So we're on a book club, and we finished a very interesting book about magic from Nicholas Levy, and when we finished that book, a lot of like with the new book, a lot of things kind of came to your mind, but then this week you kind of like open this door full of synchronicities.
Pandora's box. Yeah.
Yes, the Pandora's box,
But
exactly. Yes, and it has been so many, right? And how do you feel about having all of these synchronicities bombarded you, basically? Because
you know what? I don't get scared anymore. I get excited, and I get, because I see them as a sign. Now I'm like in fully aware, like anything that I need to be paying attention to, any special signs over here that anyone's sending me, please come my way now.
yes.
So that, because I see them as confirmation that it's
Mm.
like, okay, you're into something, or maybe like some other synchronicities or signs that are telling me, no, don't follow that path.
Mhm.
Not that way, just
Right.
So it depends on what I'm thinking at the moment, what I'm going through, that I give it the synchronicity or the sign, the interpretation that.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, there has been, um, I feel a lot of them and very powerful ones that you have encountered this whole week. Um, and I know that we would talk about the, because that's a very long episode, so we would talk about that maybe in some other time. But is there something in a specific that you want to share with us about those synchronicities in a specific about this week that you think that will help someone uh, kind of identify or know what's a synchronicity? Because sometimes I feel that we're so caught up on the go, go, go that we don't even realize that we're being presented with synchronicities that we might think, this is just one other thing. Like just saying, what your first thought about the ladybug. This is just whatever, it's spring. There's a lot of out there and all these things, but then it kept presenting like, okay, like I'm gonna stop you now, basically, so you can kind of pay attention to what I'm trying to tell you.
Mhm.
There's something like that in this whole week that you have experienced that you want to share with us?
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think that because of the book we read, I think it might have moved a lot of energy, like within our group, within our community. I think it did. And it's all been like good, I think, especially like after what we talked about during our last episode, about closing a cycle and opening a cycle. It really has been that it has been really blunt. Like, okay, you guys close the cycle and you're starting this other one. And I think that's exactly what we did last week too. Okay, so we're reading this new book, right? And well, we're barely getting through the first chapter, right? And that book was mentioning a formula. And because of I mean, it didn't make much sense to us while we were reading it, but it had like quotes,
Oh,
just
quotes.
just one. And we're like, okay, why would you include something like this? And we couldn't figure it out. So we're like, okay, whatever. The session was over. And then all of a sudden, I come across this episode, a podcast, and I started listening to it. And it talked about a formula, not the same formula that we read on the book, but it was a formula. It was kind of similar, but instead of the quote unquote, well, the quotes, not just the quote unquote, just quotes, it was the actual pi symbol. And I'm like, this, I mean, there's something here. So I kept on watching the entire episode and all that. I mean, it brought up like all kinds of things, right? But specifically about the book that we were reading. I'm like, I knew there was something there, not just for me, but for the entire group.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait like to tell everyone. And I was like, oh my gosh, you guys. And I shared it with Angeles and with another friend, with Sandy, but I didn't share it with the entire group, which was interesting because that
Yeah.
was my first. Remember, I told you guys last night. I mean, it was funny because that was my first intention of going to share with the group, but then I decided just to share it with just these two people. Why? I don't know. Well, I didn't know until last night. So anyway, I just told them, I shared, I'm like, well, there's something here, blah, blah, blah. And then the entire week, I mean, I just kept on going back to that video. I unveiled other things. But about the book, well, we have our reading circles on Fridays. So last night we were during the session, I brought it up. I'm like, oh, you guys, you know what? I think, those um, quotes are not quotes, but it's actually the pi sign. And Hasa, who is, who's leading the reading circle, he's like, okay, I'll watch it. He couldn't wait to get off the session. Just like, okay, you guys, let me go watch the video. Anyway, so I mean, he unveiled the whole thing.
Yeah.
He unveiled the whole thing, and it's It's just amazing how just one little thing can bring, can unveil, uncover so much information, not just for one person, but for everyone.
Right.
And the reason why it all made sense on Friday last night when I shared, I'm like, yeah, I've been wanting to share it, the video and about this like all week in the group, and somehow I didn't. And then, as I was telling as well, I was going through a process and this and that. So maybe, if you would have shared it before, like during the week, I wouldn't have paid attention to it because I was going through something else. So we're like, okay, it makes sense.
Right. And we only get the information we're ready for, correct? So I feel that there was, when you shared that with me, I was like, okay, there must be a message for me here. And there's a plenty of messages in that video for me. But it's funny, right? How one thing um jump itself into another thing and then so on, like once we start, and that's what we were talking about prior to recording, it's like once we become aware of the synchronicities, it's like, okay, now you're aware, now you're conscious about it. Let me go ahead and start talking to you. It's like the universe kind of sense, okay, now you're ready to see, to hear, to feel, and all these things that synchronicities makes us um feel, and it's just kind of like also like I shared earlier with you, that sometimes um I could be in a place where I'm kind of like I just don't know what to expect anymore, or I'm feeling kind of down and I'm just kind of like, should I keep going this path and all this? And then the number 888 comes my way and it's like, okay, like it encourages me to continue, because it's like, okay, this is the universe talking to me. And we've talked about this plenty of times already too. The universe has different ways of talking to us, but one of the things that this video mentioned, and that I truly do agree with it, is that the universe language is numbers. That's the sacred language of the universe, right? That the way, if you take a look at
The universal language.
yes, yes, at everything that is around us, like it all has some type of formula, right? Numerically formulas. So it's just really interesting to me how when he mentioned that, it really resonated with me because that's how I started becoming aware of the universe communicating with me. When I, like the first time, and I've talked about this too, the first time I ever became aware of a synchronicity that I didn't even know what was a synchronicity, it was like I didn't even know what angel numbers were back then because, as I mentioned on my on the last episode, I didn't even believe in angels or any kind of things like that. So when I became aware of, like, I remember, ha being on my old job before I became an entrepreneur, and looking at document numbers, passport numbers, visa numbers, while driving, the license plate numbers, bills, like everything, like receipts, 222. And I was just kind of like, it got to the point that it was so consistent every day, everywhere, even when I looked at the clock, that it was like, I have, like, what is this? Like, why am I seeing 222? And it was just kind of like, because a couple days before I became aware, or I think a day before, 2 days before I became aware of that synchronicity of the 222, I remember coming back from the courthouse because at that time I was fighting for the custody of my children, and I remember coming back from the courthouse that day. Yeah, going back to work, and I was driving, into San Francisco, like literally like crying,
Mhm.
like really like bawling basically. Because I was just like, I can't continue. I had been fighting for their custody for 10 years. And it was just kind of like already too much. I was just like, please, like, I can't keep going. I can't keep doing this anymore. Like, I need to know if I'm even doing the right thing, Like, it made me even doubt myself at that
Yeah.
point.
Mhm.
If I was doing the right thing, um, and why was I going through this if all I wanted was to be with, like, have my children with me all the time in a safe environment. And it was just so interesting to me how after that time where I was like basically talking to, because I remember even saying, if there's a God, if there's anything that, back then I didn't believe on any of this or anything. And I was just like, if there's a freaking God or anything, like, why are you making me go through this if you know that I'm trying to keep my kids in a safe environment, if you know they're better with me, if you know, like, why am I going through this? I really can't understand it. And I was already so tired of that entire situation. And that was the moment where the 222 started coming into my life, and then the 444, and my life completely changed after that. It was just like I got my kids custody, like so many things that happened after that that I was just like, why? So I am very aware that it was that first synchronicity that I became aware and that I started having a conversation with the universe. And it was just so magical and so beautiful. Now that I think about it, now that I look back, and I was just like, yeah, of course, I was like bawling and I was feeling all this anger and um this
Frustration.
frustration, exactly, frustration, and also out of love, because it was coming out of love too, like the love that I felt for my children, um, and the love in a way too that I felt for their father, that I wanted him to be in a better place first, to be able to be a good father, which I'm not saying he wasn't a good father, but in a where he was in a better place to be the father that our children needed at that time. So I feel like all of that was just kind of like it all cooked together, and it was like, okay, now she's ready to see this synchronicities, but I had no idea.
Exactly. Started
Yeah, yeah.
bombarding you with a bunch of like, mhm.
And I think even when you came into my life, Aida, I was still kind of naive about those kind of things, because when you would talk to me about angels and dreams and spirit guides, and like I would believe it, but not fully believe it, right?
Mm.
Because it took me some time to kind of like digest all of this information, because from someone who hasn't grown up hearing about these things and never actually experienced any kind of mystical, if you want to call it like that, things, it's just like it's kind of like unbelievable. Like, how is the universe going to talk to me? What is a synchronicity? Like, what are you talking about? So it was just very interesting.
But I think that, like you just mentioned a few minutes ago, you were ready for it. It was the right time
Yeah,
because you started opening up, and you're like, well, something that I said must have, clicked in there and saying, well, maybe, yeah, I don't fully believe it, but there's something here.
right.
And maybe at that point you started like becoming aware of like opening up or like, okay, well, maybe, there is something.
Yeah, and it took some time because when I started seeing 222, it took me 5 years to find you. So between that time until I found you, that you were the one that kind of helped me through this process of understanding and accepting this part of me and this part of the magic, um yeah, of the concept of the magic. It was a 5 year in between that I had to kind of digest and get familiar with the concepts. And then I found you, and it was just like, okay, I'm familiar, but I'm not 100% sure I still believe on this. And I feel that after so many times that we talked about, and definitely after our meditation together, and that I was able to connect with my spirit guides, I was just like, or with my grandpa, I was like, okay, like this is real. This is true,
The
you know?
quantum.
But it's like when we're ready, you're right, when we're ready to receive these synchronicities, and when we are also, I feel, become aware and conscious of there's something more bigger than us. Um, and it resides within and with all of us and with every single thing in this universe. And I'm part of it. You know, and it's just kind of like, and you start accepting all of these things. Um,
Mhm.
and I feel like that's when things kind of start going into place, and then you start getting bombarded like you did like this whole week, right? Of like, okay, now you're ready to receive all this. Because how long has it been since you went to Egypt, since you went to Turkey? And now, and it's like
And
this
putting the
time in
pieces
between,
together.
and now you're seeing all of this bigger picture, of this entire thing.
And you know what? Like I had been thinking this whole week is like, okay, well, especially like since yesterday, well, this past couple days, that it's like, well, maybe, like the signs had been there all along, but I
Mhm.
had only been aware of just one little thing here, one little thing over here, and then, but maybe I had been bombarded with signs throughout my life, but I just wasn't open to it. I wasn't in full awareness of
Mhm.
my surroundings in order for me to actually pay attention and identify them. So, I was questioning myself that like I had
We
been.
open, like he said on the video too, certain portals at some time, some ancient time in our lives, right? Where it's like, okay, you have opened the portal, and you're ready to receive this. But also, let's remember that this intelligence that is able to see us for who we are truly, and it's able to see if we're how much we're ready to digest, right? Because that's another thing that he talked about on that video. It's like, this needs to stop because this person will shatter if I'm completely honest with it. So how prepared do I feel to see the synchronicities?
Yeah, and in what sense? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it physically? Is it spiritually? Is it um mentally, emotionally? Like, is it a combination of everything?
I think
Or it's like where I don't know. I mean, I've just
I think it's a combination of everything. Like,
been asking myself like all kinds of stuff. It's like it's just
yeah.
like
And I do think that the more conscious we become, the more self-awareness we are, we become, um, the more we're opening that whole picture for synchronicities to come our way.
you know what I also questioned this week? Like, it's like, okay, Aida, are you like just looking for a sign and then you're just out there, okay, sign, sign, sign. Okay, I'm gonna take this as a sign. And then just do, like a brainwash? Or is it really a sign? Is it really a synchronicity? I asked myself that too, because of the amount of information that I was getting. And I'm like, okay, am I fooling myself here? Is it a real sign? Is it real synchronicity? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, I wasn't making it up.
Right, yes, that has happened to
There's
me.
my confirmation. Never mind, I got it. Thank you guys.
Yes, that has happened to me too.
But I think it pretty, I mean, it could be pretty easy, to fall into that too.
Yeah.
To just fool myself and just like, oh, I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna make it a sign and
That's why I'm saying it's super important to be introspective and be self-aware of understanding who you are and what's your reality and kind of, interpret the synchronicities according to what you're currently experiencing in your reality. Because probably what, 444 means to me not necessarily means to you. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
maybe what if the universe is showing me a synchronicity that is trying to stop me from doing something, but it might show you the same synchronicity for you to encourage you to proceed.
Mhm.
So we just have to be very aware of ourselves, of our reality, of the things, the internal dialogue, the external dialogue, how we're feeling, what are those emotions, as I've always mentioned. Um, and 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 I feel it's all about knowing ourselves and having that moment of introspection and really questioning and being honest with
And
ourselves.
I think, yeah, like, and I think deep inside each one of us, we know
Oh
when
yeah,
we're fooling ourselves. And we're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pretend that da da da, and you know, I'm gonna say that was a sign from the universe. It was a synchronicity, and I'm just gonna like deep inside when it's like, okay, you know what, you're fooling yourself. Like,
exactly.
then stop, and or the other way around, if we look at it from a different perspective, it's like, no, 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 they're not a synchronicity. No, but
And I think both of those scenarios happened at
but
some
it's all
point.
about
Yeah,
thinking, going within, and just be truly honest with myself
yeah,
and look at things the way are actually being presented to me.
that's true. Yeah. Yeah, and I totally agree. There's certain times in our lives where we're like, no, no, this is not it. And it's like, it is that way. Or you're just
How
like,
many times, like, the whole pay attention to your dreams thing, it's like, how many times did you have to hear it before you actually acted upon it?
exactly.
But now maybe you don't need to see it like that, I mean, that many times in order for you to actually, pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe it's only for certain things, or maybe not others, but it's all a matter of
Of going in.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
think so.
What will be your invitation for this episode?
I'm like, my invitation is to go back, into things that just do like a review, like, okay, what are those things that keep presenting themselves, like those little signs? How many times, you can start off with a butterfly, with a ladybug or something else, but just go and see, okay, well, I have been seeing this number, like, you know, repeatedly lately. What was I thinking?
Mhm.
What was I going through at that point? And just maybe write it down, start writing it down. And then when you see it again, it's like, okay, what was I going through? And then if you start seeing similarities, it's like, okay, well, maybe that's a sign from the universe that it's always, that keeps presenting itself, trying to tell me something. Maybe like a confirmation, yeah, you're going the right path. Or no, it's not that way, according to what you were going, with the context, like what you were going through at that point, what you were thinking, what you were experiencing, and just start identifying the,
Exactly.
those signs and synchronicities that have been um, around and maybe you've missed, but now you're
Mhm.
catching them and then you can start being aware of them going forward. I think that will be my invite. How about you?
Beautiful. Yeah, my invite would also be to pay attention to your reality, to your everyday life. Um, because I know for me at the beginning, I was very like on the go, 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 and didn't think much about anything, didn't question much, didn't pay much attention to any of these kind of things, until it was very consistent every day, all day long, that I was just kind of like, okay, hey, what is this? But my invitation will be to become aware of those of your everyday life. What are those synchronicities within your day, every day? If you see a butterfly every day, what color is it? What time of the day do you see it? How are you feeling, as you just mentioned, when you saw that butterfly? Or, like in my case, that I was in a consulate, or, driving, or just doing things, my everyday life, and every single document had a do too. It was kind of like, this is not, this can't be. Um,
Insane, I know.
but and who knows, for how long I had been seeing that number, I had just not pay attention.
Notice them. Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. So my invitation is definitely pay attention to what happens in your everyday life, and become aware of those synchronicities in your life. So
Love it. So I'm inviting them to go back so that they have a reference point, and you're inviting them to start going forward, start paying attention. So that's a lot of homework, you guys. You still have you have a whole week to get all that info down so you can share with
yeah,
us. Yeah, do share with us in the
yeah.
comments.
And
Please.
please, always tell us, what do you think about these episodes? Was it helpful? Did it help you kind of understand, what are those questions maybe that did we gave you any idea on how to get started on any process that you're going through, either closing a cycle, becoming aware of synchronicities, um, the signs that you can see on your everyday life, how introspection has helped you, or meditation, or all of these concepts that we have shared with you, how you feel that they have helped you, or even, by listening to the episode, how we have helped you become aware of, maybe I should be more introspective, or maybe I should question more, or maybe I should pay attention to all of those words that are coming out of my mouth, or that internal dialogue. We would love to hear it. I think it's really nice when we get to hear from you guys, and understand, and know that we are putting our love in out there, and it's getting to each and one of you. So thank you so much, and thank you, Aida, as always, for sharing this space with me. I feel very blessed, very lucky, very happy to be here with you, and to share this journey of life with you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Angeles. Me too. Those were beautiful, beautiful, beautiful words. Thank you. Thanks to our listeners too. What Angeles said. She said it beautifully, so I don't really need to screw it up over here. So thank you guys, and please, yes, do share, please. And yep, thank you.
You on the next episode with many more interesting and surprises that are coming.
Oh yes, surprises, lots of surprises, you guys. Thank you guys. We'll see you. Well, no, we'll talk to you next week. Bye bye. Thank you.